Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Cockpit project. In this video we're going to be doing the last of the plates for the side pods and looking for somewhere to hang the Oculus Rift VR headset, and also I need to mount one of these amplifiers in that side pod as well, so I can get at the volume control, switch it on and off. And this one handily has a bass isolated output on it. So whipped up this quick design in Fusion 360, and to mount the amplifier we're going to cut a hole through the plate here, and we need to clamp that onto there somehow. So the easiest way to do that is to 3D print a collar, if you like, which will fit underneath the plate here, and we can put a couple of grub screws through either side through these holes here. That can clamp the amplifier into place, and it will sit flush essentially with this hole at the top, and then we can bolt the collar onto the plate using these holes here. We've got our usual 4 mounting holes to mount the plate onto the chassis, and then we've got the VR headset hanger here with an overhang so that the strap can fit underneath. We couldn't just put this plug, if you want to call that, on top of these uprights because the strapping would get in the way underneath, interfere with it. So let's step over to the CNC machine and the 3D printer and get this underway. Okay, so we're going to do some spot drilling first, and that's to stop the drill bits that I'm going to make the holes with from wandering across the aluminium and potentially snapping. And the first set of those is going to be using a 6mm drill, which will make the mounting holes that fix the plate onto the cockpit chassis. And then we're going to come in with a 3.2mm drill bit, which will make the holes that I'll then tap out to an M4 thread. And then we're going to come in with a 4mm single flute cutter, create the counter bores on top of that, so our bolts sit underneath the surface, if you like, of the aluminium plate. And then we've got the long cutout tool path, which is using adaptive clearing rather than slotting, much safer, actually quicker as well really. And you can see that before I started that I put some screws into the plate to hold that down, otherwise catastrophe would occur when we finally get round to cutting the whole plate out. Now, as part of this, because I was doing an adaptive tool path, I also came in and cleared out the hole where the amplifier is going to sit, and I didn't use a cutout there, just went straight in and hogged all that aluminium out, and similarly with the 2 holes for the uprights. Now, as that's a roughing tool path, we then come in and get some lovely chip spray using a single Flute 6mm cutter just to clean all the scalloped edges off and make that a lot smoother. Okay, then we're stepping over to the 3D printer and we'll start with printing out the collar. Apologies for the kind of bad clarity on the time-lapse on this. I must work on that and get that looking a bit better. Anyway, this collar was a fairly easy print to do because there's no real overhangs apart from inside the holes there that the bolts are going to fit through. And they're fairly small, you can easily get away with those overhangs. Then we got onto the uprights, so obviously there's 2 of these. Similarly again, there's not much of an overhang, there's just the kind of hole where the aluminium rods are going to sit and the various bolt holes as well. And then we got the bracket, and again I designed this so that it's largely flat and printable, and you can see that kind of prints up from the large flat area on one side and then up to those 2 protruding bits which give us the overhang. Now, I couldn't get away without using supports on the plug, if you want to call it that, the hanger for the actual VR headset, because of that lug piece in the front that actually holds the headset onto this hanger. Okay, and then it's stepping over to the lathe, and we had to make 2 of these rods and faced off the end, then came in again with a spot drill, and then did a bit of boring with a standard drill bit. So I think that was an M5, so that would have been a 4.2mm drill bit in there, which you then tap out later. But first of all, I'm just going to turn off the oxidized aluminium off the outside of this rod to clean it up, and also bring it down to the right diameter so it fits into the 3D printed parts you've just seen done. Then we come in with a kind of finishing pass at the end, just to take the last bits of aluminium off. And then we come in with a hand tap and just tap the M5 tap. Actually, the tap on this one is specially designed for going into blind holes that don't have any opening at the other end. And then you just see I come in with a chamfer bit there just to pretty that up. And then probably one of the worst operations, I hate doing this, but just take it really slowly, which is parting off the small piece of aluminium rod. There you go, and that's just fallen off, which we can then turn around, put back in the lathe, take off any roughness using a facing operation, as we've just done there, and then also put a small chamfer in the end there. There you go. Right, and then with the amplifier itself, it had some mounting ears, I suppose you call them, on the actual amplifier, so I've hacked those off with a hacksaw. That took a bit of work, but got there in the end. And then we just come in with a file to file that smooth. Now, it doesn't have to be too pretty. This is going to be underneath the cockpit in the side pods, which I'll eventually box in. Right, then using a drill, mainly because it's plastic and not metal that the tap can break off in, we then tap the holes. In fact, I'd 3D printed the thread into the holes, so what we're really doing here is just cleaning those threads out. And then it's just a case of mounting the amplifier into the plate, and that's going to be ready to put into the cockpit. Go, quick check. And then back into the workshop. Actually, one thing I did do on the uprights is I gave them a bit of car body filler and then spray painted them black just to make them a bit smoother. Okay, here's our finished plate and assembled VR headset bracket, hanger, whatever you want to call it. So we've got our 2 uprights, they're actually bolted into the frame of the cockpit. Then we've got these 2 aluminium rods, as you saw me making on the lathe, and then we've got 2 bolts holding those in to these uprights. The bracket here is just pushed onto this, and then you can get some adjustment in and out to adjust the amount of overhang, because of course when the headset hangs on this, it's got the piece of strapping that sits around the back of your head, and that needs to go obviously underneath there. If I just put them on, or try to put this portion just on top of these uprights, then this strap would not be able to sit anywhere, so it wouldn't sit properly, hence the overhang. We've got a bit of adjustability as well. There's a couple of 5mm grub screws tapped, which I didn't show, to hold these onto the aluminium rods, and yeah, that's pretty sturdy. The blanking plate, just make sure you can see that. Yeah, you've got a nice big notch here. That's so that it doesn't set the sensor off and switch the HMD on until you put it on your head, so it can sit there and the sensor basically just sort of sees that there's nothing there, so that's great. You've got this bulge here which essentially helps hold the HMD on there. I've not had it slip off yet. It's pretty secure, and this kind of plug, should we call it? I'm not sure what we call that, but the hanger part is just epoxied, and there was a recess for this bracket to sit in on the back side of this. What I might do is I might put this model in the or on Dropbox or something and link it in the description below, because all you need to do is put a base of some description on the bottom of this and you could use it outside of a cockpit project. Right, so that's the HMD hanger, and we can put that on there, and that works pretty well. Yes, it does kind of protrude outside the limits of the cockpit, but hey, it was either that or actually my elbow would have been, when I'm using the throttle, would have been banging against this, and it doesn't. It's just in the right place, so that's you know, one of those compromises you have to make. Now let's just swing this around. Okay, so here's the amplifier down here, and you saw me attaching that with the plastic bracket to the bottom of the plate, so that's kind of clamped in place. It's actually quite tight in there, so it's pretty secure. So that doesn't take a feed for the normal sound. What it does is it takes just the subwoofer channel off of the PC and goes to, just show you this. There we go, we've got a bass shaker on the back of the seat. Hopefully you can see that. It's pretty dark down there, and there's also another one underneath the seat as well. And with the subwoofer channel, and using a piece of software that I've got called Voice Meter, and I'll put a link to that in the description as well. What that does is it splits off or takes a duplicate of just of the bass frequencies and pushes those through the amplifier, which then, using this bass control here, let's just turn that on, and using this bass volume control here, I can control how much the sub frequencies are transmitted through the seat, so you can get that engine rumble and the weapons firing and all that kind of stuff. It's really quite good, actually. In fact, you know, one of Elite Dangerous' main strengths is its sound design, and it works brilliantly on this. It gives you an extra level of immersion, if you like. Normal sound obviously still comes out of the Oculus Rift. Now the Oculus does have a duplicate sound function in it, but when I was running this on Windows 7, this rig, that wasn't working, and that's why I used the Voice Meter thing. And I also believe it doesn't actually work brilliantly on the, if at all, on Windows 10 either. So you know, it's a bit of extra software you have to run. There might be a little bit of lag in terms of the bass sound reaching the shakers and stuff, but you know, it's not supposed to be heard, it's supposed to be felt, and that's not too bad. Yeah, so very happy with that, and really that completes as well the left hand side of the cockpit. So we've done the right hand side, and that also pretty much, from terms of functionality, completes the whole cockpit. However, there's going to be some other aesthetic things I'm going to do to the cockpit, which will make this look a little bit prettier and also help with the navigating all functions, but I'll come back to that in another video as well. So yeah, plenty more to come in the cockpit. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you on the next video.